Guten Tag, Kinder. Welcome to the Composer Detective, where we investigate the lives and the music of some of the world's great and influential composers. I am your host, George Frideric Handel. You may remember that I am a German composer from the Baroque era, though I lived most of my life in England. I am known for water music, operas, and oratorios such as Messiah. Hallelujah, hallelujah. I am Handel, George Frideric Handel. Remember, the Baroque era of music was such a great time of grand, fancy, and almost decorated sounding music with a frivolous use of frills, trills, and extra notes. Johann Sebastian Bach and I were composers during this era. Yeah, I am Johann Sebastian Bach, the German Baroque composer, one of the three B's and considered by some to be the greatest composer. In my lifetime, though, I was not known so much as a composer, though I was prolific in writing concertos, cantatas, oratorios, toccatas and fugues, and inventions. But I was a famous organist and choir director who was from a family of musicians. I want my music to be to the glory of God. Then there was the musical era that came after me, the classical era. In the classical era, music was very structured and orderly, like the music of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Ludwig van Beethoven was also a classical composer, so his later music pushed orchestral music into a new era called the Romantic era. Guten Tag. I, Johannes Brahms, am also a well-loved romantic composer, known for my use of counterpoint and rhythm and my rich and full orchestral compositions. I am one of the three B's, the three influential composers from Germany: Johann Sebastian Bach, Ludwig van Beethoven, and me, Johannes Brahms. Remember, the Romantic era is a period of music, art, and literature that is often characterized by unabashed expression of emotion. Johannes Brahms was a Romantic era composer. We also met a composer of the Romantic era whose music captured all of his emotions very well: Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky.
Dobre utro. Good morning, children. You may recognize the music I, Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, wrote for my ballet, The Nutcracker, and my other soaring melodies in my other ballets and symphonies.
After the Romantic era is the Modern era, which is the period of music composed and performed in the 20th century through today, and often characterized by musical innovation. Today, let's meet a composer who helped push music from the Romantic era into the Modern era. He is from France, and his name is Claude Debussy.
Bonjour. I am Claude Debussy.
Tell us a little about yourself, Claude. You were a musician, even a prodigy as a child, like so many other composers, yeah?
Oui, but of course. I began to play the piano at age 7 and entered the Paris Conservatory at age 11. I, Pyotr Ilyich Tchaikovsky, started piano lessons at age 5, and I was as good as my teacher at reading music by the time I was 8.
Yeah, I, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, was also a fantastic musician as a child, as everyone knows. When I was 3, I started to learn to play the violin and the piano.
Everyone talks about Mozart as being a child prodigy, but I, Ludwig van Beethoven, also learned to play the piano, violin, and organ at a young age. We were all brilliant from childhood. Your music from the classical and romantic eras has so many roles. But I like to try new sounds. I love to play the piano, but I hate the rules of musical composition. My professor once asked me, "What rules do you follow?" I answered, "None, only my own pleasure." He said, "That's very well, provided you are a genius." And I am a genius. Yeah, well, I pushed the classical era into the romantic era. I am a genius. There are and will be 1,000 princes. There is only one Beethoven. Oh, Beethoven, you had profound things to say, but you did not know how to say them, because you were imprisoned in a web of incessant restatement and German aggressiveness. I am pushing music into a new modern era. My first success came when I won the Grand Prix de Rome for my piece L'Enfant Prodigue, the Prodigal Son, and I was able to go study in Rome for 2 years. This, of course, was after I became the piano teacher for Tchaikovsky's sponsor, Nadezhda von Meck, and her children, and traveled around with them for a few years. My pieces are mostly for the piano and orchestra, though the classical symphony is outdated. I am one of the essential composers for the piano, in fact, along with Beethoven and Chopin. You may know my lovely Claire de Lune, which means the moon. I have many lovely piano pieces, if I do say so myself. I will admit, I am lazy about everything but my music. People say all kinds of things about me. That I am rebellious, sensual, unsociable, and hedonistic. And I admit I love my indulgences and luxury and do cause scandals. But I don't care what people think. The literary movement of our day is called symbolism, and I like to think of my music in that way. Some call my music impressionistic, like the artwork of Claude Monet, Edgar Degas, Renoir, and many other French painters, but I despise that label. I like to think of my works as musical paintings, like my symphonic sketch La Mer, or The Sea. In it, I wanted to depict the mood and atmosphere of a storm at sea. My piece, Prelude to the Afternoon of a Faun, is a tone poem inspired by poet Stéphane Mallarmé, and is considered the turning point where music came into the modern era. Later, it became a ballet with the famous Ballet Russes. My last work was also a ballet performed by Ballet Russes called Joux, which debuted in May 1913. But unfortunately, Igor Stravinsky's The Rite of Spring debuted a fortnight later and overshadowed my work.
Da, you influenced me, Igor Stravinsky, and we both made significant strides for pushing music into the modern era. The Rite of Spring certainly would have overshadowed any of your works put out at the same time. Some call it the most important work of the 20th century. So, are you the most influential composer of the 20th century, or am I?
We are friends, Igor, but of course, I am the most influential composer of the 20th century. So, let's review about me. Repeat after me. My name is Claude Debussy.
Claude Debussy.
1862 to 1918.
1862 to 1918.
French composer of the modern era.
French composer of the modern era.
Impressionist or symbolist music.
Impressionist or symbolist music.
Piano and orchestra music.
Piano and orchestra music.
Musical paintings and symphonic sketches.
Musical paintings and symphonic sketches.
Innovative in breaking the rules of musical composition.
Innovative in breaking the rules of musical composition.
One of the most influential composers of the 20th century.
One of the most influential composers of the 20th century.
Au revoir. Danke. Thank you for joining me on The Composer Detective today. Please join me again another time when we talk about the lives and the music of other great composers like Claude Debussy and me, Handel. Auf Wiedersehen from George Frideric Handel and The Composer Detective.